Bill not only remembered this encounter, he remembered having been taken on board almost a dozen times throughout his life. Intensely curious about his secret life, Bill continued the hypnosis sessions. He discovered he had been taken since age 5. As a young boy, I don't want to go with them. The incredible onboard UFO encounter of William and Peggy Foster by Preston Dennett at 11 p.m. on the night of November 16, 1996. William Bill Foster, his wife Peggy, both age 55, and 2 friends drove northbound along Highway 601 near Yadkinville, North Carolina. Ahead of them, a strange light appeared ahead of them over the highway. It looked like a large plane was going to land on the highway. As they drove closer, they saw it was a massive black triangular-shaped craft. Moments later, it hovered in perfect silence less than 50 feet overhead. For the next few minutes, all 4 of them watched the craft in astonishment. When it slowly glided off to the left and disappeared into the distance, they all realized that they had seen a UFO. Driving home, Bill and Peggy were puzzled to see that the clock read 2 a.m. A drive that should have taken no more than 2 hours somehow took 4. They were missing 2 hours of time. At the time, they didn't think much about it and just continued on with their lives. But a few years later, a relative asked Bill and Peggy to share their UFO story. Only then did they realize that they could not account for the missing 2 hours. Bill began researching the subject and soon discovered what the missing time might mean. That they could have been taken on board and not remember it. Both Bill and Peggy decided to try hypnosis. The other couple refused to talk about the encounter. Under hypnosis, Bill and Peggy recalled that as they slowed down to gaze in wonder at the massive craft, their car rose up off the road and up inside the giant UFO. After 2 years of hypnotic regression therapy, the whole story emerged. The 4 witnesses found themselves still sitting in the car in a huge, bright, hangar-sized room. More than a dozen 4-foot-tall gray ETs surrounded the car. Each person was unable to move as they were levitated above the floor and led in separate directions. Bill was floated down a corridor, and as he passed an open archway, he saw other people lying unconscious on tables in a small room. He was then floated into a small room where short gray ETs and one tall one began to examine him. "Don't be afraid," they said. "It won't hurt you." Bill hammered them with questions, most of which they simply answered by repeating the phrase, "Don't be afraid. We won't hurt you." Under hypnosis, Peggy recalled the same series of events. She was taken down another corridor, also past a room with people on tables, and was taken to another room where she was physically examined. All 4 were then floated back to the car, which was gently dropped back on the highway. Following the encounter, Peggy's severe fibromyalgia went into full remission. Traumatized by the encounter, Peggy refused further hypnosis. But under hypnosis, Bill not only remembered this encounter, he remembered having been taken on board almost a dozen times throughout his life. Intensely curious about his secret life, Bill continued the hypnosis sessions. He discovered he had been taken since age 5. As a young boy, he was taken on board where he was joined by other children and gray ET children and played games where he was taught telekinesis. At age 12, he was taken on board and given an alien implant, and he was told that he would be taught lessons which would take years to learn, and that when he finally grasped them, he would be taken by the Greys to live with them permanently. In exchange, he would be given information, and his lifespan would be more than doubled. The ETs were puzzled by Bill's intense fear during his encounters, and were also surprised that he was unable to remember them consciously. The onboard experiences continued through adolescence and adulthood. There were 3 types of encounters: a long examination, a short examination, and informational sessions during which Bill was given volumes of information. Finally, after one informational session, Bill finally grasped the lessons and learned the answer to why he was being taken. It was an answer which both amazed and shocked him. Apparently, the ETs were interested in his emotions and in his ability to sense and feel things, and wanted to use the information to assist in their attempts to teach other people. While Bill's early encounters were very frightening, he ultimately began to feel a closeness to the Greys, like they were his second family. At the same time, however, he felt a sense of violation and was frightened about the approaching date when he was supposed to go live with them on a permanent basis. Meanwhile, Bill's encounters continued. In 2006, Bill and Peggy, along with their hypnotherapist Nadine Wheeler, wrote the book, The Black Triangle Abduction, about their 1996 encounter and Bill's lifelong experiences with extraterrestrials. At the end of this video, you can listen to a first-hand interview where Bill Foster shares his experience. In his own words, "I don't want to go with them." The incredible onboard UFO encounter of William and Peggy Foster.